So let me begin here. My daughter Lara, she's 9 years old. She just turned 9 a week and a half ago. And the way that she was born marks an incredible transition in my life. For 9 years since ever she was born, every time on her birthday, I have been making a pumpkin pie. And this does have a special meaning in mine and her life. And I guess this is how I'm going to begin my birth story. I was a very active mama, and I was 28 back then, and I was a very happy mom, even though I had this 4 months of morning sickness. It was quite intense and I was nauseous all the time. I really enjoyed the state of being pregnant, and especially I enjoyed that feeling of fullness and vitality and growing life inside of me, and I really empowered myself and I enjoyed my strength. And I wouldn't say that I devoted so much time towards going to birth classes and studying every single piece of information. I did not. I really did my best, however, to connect to my intuition and to feel what my body really wants during the pregnancy. So, like one of the women that I've been talking to, Joy, said that it's not really what I did in birth, but what I did before birth really affected how things were flowing in my labor. So apart from taking a prenatal class, Braidley's method class, I was just spending so much time in nature. I was spending so much time doing the things that I love, walking and dancing and spending time with my friends, spending time with women, picking flowers, gardening, going to Vipassana meditation. All of that really allowed me to connect with the voice that my body was talking in, and really live like a really easy and joyful life during the pregnancy. So as my belly was growing, my anticipation for my birth was also growing. And I gave birth in a country, Canada, that is so supportive of unmedicated birth. We have beautiful communities of midwives. We have such an amazing support that it's all covered by government. We have an amazing birthing center in Toronto. I must say that I was so lucky to give birth exactly there. And one thing that I remember is that this is something that I'm asking all of my clients who are looking forward into unmedicated birth. I'm asking them, when did you switch towards wanting an unmedicated birth? Because everything that is being known and promoted is birth in the hospitals, and some of them are saying that they had sort of awakening at some point in their lives, but some sort of had it forever, had the feeling that they don't want medicated birth, and they have no particular big fear of giving vaginal birth. So for me it was exactly like that. I was looking into my birth very naturally and very organically into a big and beautiful initiation. It was like so exciting for me to think of going through all of this intensity. And I know it may sound strange for a lot of you, but then I'm just talking about what I was experiencing. I did not have any trace of second thoughts of having my birth to be medicated. And it doesn't make me better than the others. This is just like something ingrown in me that was just there. So all of my decisions were coming from the state of being very confident, of being very empowered, but also of being very excited towards going to labor. And when I heard about anesthesia and C-sections, and especially anesthesia actually, because C-section is more of an emergency measure, but epidural anesthesia is something that women do purely by choice because of the intensity of the sensations that they're experiencing. So when I thought about epidural, it would freak me out. I would think to myself, how is it possible to voluntarily turn off the sensations in your body while you're running such a big marathon? You're giving birth and you're not even able to walk, for God's sake. It was like, how? I just could not register this. So, and again, it doesn't make me better than the others. It was just my thought process. Like, I just could not understand how is that possible? So the choice was obvious for me, and thank God Canadian government really supports home birth. There is like a social advertisement about home birth. The communities of midwives, such an amazing service. I have not been to a doctor's office even once. I was going oh no, I'm sorry, I did go for one ultrasound, which usually midwife centers do not have, but doctors have that. So they sent me to an ultrasound office. This is the only time when I did ultrasound. I think I did scan in the first trimester, and that was about it. And all my other visits were at midwifery centers. So yeah, really amazing and beautiful time. I did a program that was called Bradley's Method, and it was oriented around partner's birth. So my daughter's dad, he would go with me to every class, and we would use learn the tools that we could use during the labor that he could help me with. And yeah, that was it. I was growing a baby in my belly, and I remember a woman. Her name is Melissa, and actually I'm gonna have an interview with her in a couple of weeks. She has 3 kids now, and I met her 2 weeks before my labor, my estimated due date. And she said, Mahiko, do you have a doula? And I said, what's a doula? I didn't know. And she said, well, you know, there's a woman who is so helpful at birth. She can do massages. She's taking care of you. She's, you know, she's a grail of goodness. And she does things that midwives usually don't do. And I was really intrigued, but I gave it a thought. I was like, okay, I'm gonna give it some time to think. But I took her contact. So my doula, if you're watching this, Isabel, I'm sending you all my love. She is from Guatemala, and she was this elder woman that just felt to be so empowering and so grounded. And all the way through my labor, she was just sitting there next to me. I wouldn't say that, you know, she was like running around and wiping sweat off my forehead, but she was there. She was super grounded, and through her I could feel generations and generations of women supporting me. And she was just that like grounded tree that was allowing me to feel that that energy of women's support next to me. So that was Isabella. And I'm gonna go back to how the actual labor started. So to begin with, I chose to have an unmedicated water birth, and it happened in a place called Toronto Birthing Center. It's a wonderful center that is sponsored by the government, and it's like you get everything in there. You get tubs, you get comfortable beds, you get fireplaces, you get showers, and it's just really beautiful. And it has paintings, like Native American paintings on the walls. So you can Google it. It's called Toronto Birthing Center. It's wonderful. So that was my choice. It's funny because I was thinking of doing a home birth, but at that time we were living on the second floor of a big house, and the house was owned by this elder Italian nonna, Italian grandma, and she was a wonderful grandma. Like, she would offer me coffee every morning and offer me cookies and taking care of me. She was really really great, but she was also worried about things all the time. So she was like, no, I wouldn't say worried, like she was concerned, you know. She was like alert about what's happening in town, what's up with the neighbors, and all of those things. And I imagined for a second me giving birth at home and expressing, you know, my vocal capabilities, and having her downstairs being worried about how I am. I was like, I don't think I can handle this. No, I don't think it's for me. So I chose to be out of the house. So there I was. I never believed that I would give birth in a due date, in my exact due date. Because, you know, I thought, what are the chances? And this is like all, you know, kind of like an uncertain calculation anyways, and who gives birth in their due dates, and statistically usually women give birth later. So my due date was set for October 4th, okay? And I remember that it was a really beautiful morning of October 3rd, and I woke up. It was fall. It was that Indian summer fall, where everything was red and yellow, and we lived in this beautiful part of Toronto that's really green. And at the same time, everyone walks on the streets. It's an Italian area. And I walked out of my house, and I took this trolley, like a food trolley that I had, and I went to the farmer's market, a Dufferin farmer's market, and you know, just spent time walking around, farmers and trees and kids running around. It was nice and warm. And I looked at the pumpkin that was one of the farmers were selling, and I was like, I gotta get that pumpkin. I don't know what I'm gonna use it for. It was like a huge, big pumpkin, heavy pumpkin, but I have a trolley for food. So wagon, sorry, not a trolley, wagon. So I had a wagon for food, and I put it in there, and I rolled it back home. So I brought it back, and I put it in the front porch, and later on that day, I made a pumpkin soup, and then I went to sleep. And sometime during the night, I started feeling surges coming, and it was not very intense as I expected, but they were growing and growing and growing with time. So by the morning, they were quite already intense, and I decided, and I called my midwife, and I called my doula, Isabel, and I decided that this is time to go to the birthing center. So I remember that it was already very intense in the car, but I was coping with it. I remember that I was breathing really well. I was not in panic. I was really excited. I was so excited. So I came into the birthing center, and I said, fill in the tub. I was really, eager to be in the water. And usually it's the case that in the beginning of labor, it's not recommended to be in the water because it might slow down the labor. I did not care. I wanted to be in the water right away. So I was. So I jumped in, and yeah, I remember that water was really nice and really soothing, and I could feel things starting and escalating. And before I went to the labor, let's just go back for a moment. About 1 week before I went into labor, Isabel gave me a movie to watch. And the movie is called Orgasmic Birth. And little did I know that years after that movie, I would be trained as a doula with the director of that movie. But anyways, I did watch that movie, and it showed all these women in tubs and orgasming and really having like time of their life during labor, whirling and swirling in orgasmic waves. And I was like, wow, that is it. That is what I'm looking for. So there was in a tub, whirling and swirling and waiting for orgasmic waves to come, and I would start like vocalizing it like that too, and like moaning. And it was really nice, but in the same time something inside of me was like in dissonance, like I'm moaning orgasmically, but it's not an orgasm. This is definitely so intense, and I feel a lot of pain, but in the same time, my head is with those movements, and I'm like moaning. So my doula looks at me, and she says, "What are you doing? What are you going through right now?" And I was a bit confused. I'm like, am I doing something I'm not supposed to, or what is going on? And she said, look, if you want to voice it and to use your voice, just go for it. Just go with the most empowering sounds you can ever go to. And there I was, completely switching my sound system and activating my voice, and deviating away from something that turned out to be just a preconceived idea of how orgasmic birth should be, and just screaming out of my lungs, but not like screaming panically, but really using the power of my voice to grab my pain and my intensity from the womb and to channel it all the way up. And that was probably one of the most empowering moments that I have experienced. And this is something that really, really helped me to go through the intensity of the sensations. And I remember my doula, she was massaging my lower back. That was definitely helping a lot. I was not wanting to let her go. I remember she left once, and I'm like, Isabel, please come back. I spent most of the time in the tub. They ended up not being able to take me out. I was like, no, I'm not gonna go out. Except one time when my midwife suggested that I do go out and at least, I have a little walk and just, move around a little bit. It did make me feel that maybe something is like, am I taking too long? What's going on? So I was like, okay, fine, I will go out. And I went out, and all of a sudden my midwife, she offered me to break the waters. And I must say that in my practice as a doula, from what I have observed with dozens of births, midwives, they usually do not offer that. There are no indicators that this should be done, almost never. So this never happened in my practice, and this is not common. I was talking to Ibu Robin about it. She said that she never ever does it either. But anyways, my midwife, she did, and when I heard it, I was like, no, I don't want this. But in the same time, because I did trust my team, I said, look, just give me time. I will think about it. I will sit on it, or I will go through through the surges on it. So, and then I said to myself, okay, one more surge or two more surges, and I told them, I was like, wait, one more surge. So I laid down on bed, and I started visualizing how my waters are popping, and I would feel like, okay, what would it feel like if my waters would break right now? And I started imagining how this is happening. And at some point I hear this big bang, like poof, so something is exploding inside of me. It was so strong, and it felt like the explosion of the universe, you know, the big bang. From complete darkness there was an explosion, and my waters did break. When I realized it, I knew that things are gonna go so much faster right now, and that I definitely could go back in the water, and I jumped back in the water. And my entire birth lasted, from what I consider like a really nice amount of time. It was about 8 hours, maybe 8 to 10 hours, because it's really hard to determine, you know, when it starts, because it starts like very gently. When do we actually measure like when the birth starts? This is like an eternal question. But I would say that from a time of like a very noticeable labor to the very end of it, it was about 8 to 10 hours. So after that explosion, I went back in the water, and I knew that it's really close, and I started feeling an urge to push. And when I started feeling that, midwives did check my dilation, and now that I think back about it, I don't remember it. I don't remember that they checked my dilation. And not only at that moment, but actually ever during birth, I don't have that in memory. So I suspect that they only checked once, when they heard that I need to push, which actually goes back to my own teachings, to what I say, mama, midwives, to mamas, midwives, they don't have to check you. You know, this is not like a necessary procedure, and it actually can confuse you more, because you can dilate within 10 hours 2 centimeters, and then within the next 3 hours you can dilate for the remaining 8 centimeters. So sometimes checking for dilation can be very encouraging. It can be like, oh great, I'm already quite open, but it also can be very discouraging. So anyways, I think I knew about it, and I didn't know, and I didn't want vaginal checkups. But I assume that they did one vaginal checkup by the end of the labor, because they told me not to push. And that was one of the most intense moments in entire labor, because what do you mean not to push? My body is pushing. It's an urge to push. I cannot stop it. Am I gaslighting my body right now? Like, what is going on? And I honestly, I just didn't know how to cope with it. It was really hard. And a lot of my clients are also encountering these situations, especially in the hospitals, when nurses are telling them not to push because the doctor has not arrived, or because they think that they're not dilated enough. Anyways, it was I wouldn't say it was traumatic, but it was pretty hard. I could do it, but it was hard. So right, at some point they check me and they're like, okay, now you're fully dilated, you can go for it. And actually, I don't remember that either. I'm sorry, I don't remember that, but I assume they did that because somehow I got a permission to push. But did I get that permission, or did I give it to myself? It would be interesting to recreate that. But this is probably the only like thing that I kind of didn't like that they told me not to push. And when my clients go in labor, when I'm a doula for someone, I never actually do that. I never tell women not to push, even when midwife says that. So I neither tell her not to push, neither I tell her to push. I tell her, listen to your body, okay? But that's another story. So honestly, I wish someone told me that back then, because I would be more attuned and I would really listen to what my body wants me to. Because there are two states from what I know right now. There is a state when your body is really wanting you to push, and there is also an urge to push when the head of the baby is just settling and pressing onto the cervix. There is not open yet. And there is a way to differentiate that intuitively. So when it's just the head of the baby that's pressing on the cervix, creating the pushing sensations, you can breathe through it. And you can come to a state when you don't put additional force into it. But when your body is truly wanting to push and you're fully dilated, there is this whole green light towards giving it like an additional push. Intentional, additional push, and you would want to do that. Anyways, right now I realized that there is a difference between those. Back then I did not, so I just purely listened to the instructions of my midwives. So all in all, I was back in water. I gave birth on my side. I was sideways, one leg up. Lada came out like a little dolphin in the water. She was on me, and so at some point during labor also, I didn't have my mom in there. I had only my daughter's father and midwife and doula. And my mom, she wanted to be at birth, but I was not ready to have her in. And but also, I don't know whether, I think it was my husband who told my mom and his mom that I'm giving birth. So at some point in labor, a midwife, or not a midwife, a staff of the birthing center, she comes into the room and she says, look, there is 2 women standing outside, and mind you, it's already late night. So there is 2 women standing outside and crying, and they want to get in. And I realized that it's my mom and that it's my husband's mom. And I was like, no. This is not the time. I cannot hold space for 2 crying women right now. Definitely not the time. But of course, when Lada came out, I said, okay, fine. You can let them in. You know, let them come and be with us, with the family. So they did come in, and it was a moment of a very beautiful, joyful experience for all of us. I only have one darn picture from entire birth that my mother-in-law took with like a flash when Lada is on me. I'll try and find it, but it's like ridiculous. So I want to say, guys, if you want your labor to be photographed and videotaped properly, set a designated person for that. May that be your partner, may that be your doula, but I don't have a single photo from my birth, not a video, not a photo, and I'm not very happy about it, honestly. But anyways, It is what it is. Um, Postpartum was great, except they kicked me out 2 hours from that birthing center. 2 hours after I gave birth, they said that I have to go home, which was like, no, I wanted to sleep, I wanted to rest, but we had to get in the car. It was cold already. So, but anyways, Lada spent a really beautiful bonding time with her father, laying down on his chest after she was born. And yeah, honestly, I have nothing but good things to remember from my birth. It went exactly as I was imagining it to be, and it was really empowering. And the sensations that I was experiencing that can be called pain, can I define them as pain? In some ways, yes, but also no. They were different. You know, I knew that nothing is wrong happening to my body, that I'm not being hurt, that I'm not being like no one's hurting me. You know, everything is great. Like my body is going through a natural experience that it is meant to. And whether it's this recognition or it's my intuitive knowing that allowed me not to fixate on the sensations as pain, but I completely went through with the intensity, experiencing it as something that I don't even have a word for right now, but definitely I would not say that it was pain. It was not an orgasm, but neither it was pain. It was strong, it was beautiful, it was very empowering. And if they ever ask me if I want to go through this again, if I ever get pregnant, then I would say 100% yes. This is something that only proved to me that that thought that I had before I went into labor, like how can you in your sane mind skip this sensation by numbing yourself? So this experience only proved it. Right now I can say exactly the same thing. How can you consciously choose to numb it? Because it's something that really worth living through. So this is my birth story. I'm happy to share it with you, and I'm sure that there is more things. It was 8 hours and now compressed it into 20-30 minutes. It's quite a compression, and there were a lot of vulnerable moments. There is nothing that I have hidden deliberately, not for you to hear. There were some vulnerable moments that I would not mention because they are vulnerable, because they're very personal. But the only intention that I have from sharing this story with you is to empower you and to say that yes, it's a beautiful initiation that no woman should skip, and this is something that I absolutely loved, and this is why I became who I am, and I carry this message into this world that gentle birth heals Mother Earth.